My wife cheated on me but immediately confessed and wants to work on fixing our marriage. Where to go from here? My wife cheated on me 4 days ago. She went to visit her parents in another city, and during her stay there she met up with some of her childhood friends. They planned a casual outing and decided to go to a bar for drinks. While at the bar, there was a man who showed a persistent interest in her. He began hitting on her early in the evening and continued throughout their time there. Despite her initial attempts to brush him off or not engage too deeply, one thing led to another over the course of the night. She ended up leaving the bar with him and they had sex in his car. After the incident, she told me that she felt an immediate wave of guilt, horror, and fear. She returned to her parents' house where she broke down in tears. Her emotions overwhelmed her and she started panicking. It was then that she confessed to her parents what had happened. They tried to comfort her and calm her down as she continued to cry and express her regret and self-loathing for what she had done. She stayed at her parents' place for the next couple of days, grappling with her emotions and deciding how to approach the situation with me. 2 days ago, she came back home and wasted no time in confronting the situation. She sat me down almost immediately to confess what had happened. At the time, I was already under considerable stress due to work-related issues, so her revelation felt like a crushing blow. The weight of her words and the gravity of her confession left me stunned and enraged. Despite the whirlwind of emotions surging within me, I somehow managed to control my rage and allowed her to explain herself fully. She did not try to sugarcoat or hide anything about the situation. She laid everything bare, providing all the details of the event. Her demeanor was solemn and remorseful, but she was not excessively crying or overly dramatic in her delivery. It seemed as though she understood that shedding tears would not undo what had been done. As she spoke, she handed me her phone without hesitation, indicating that she had nothing to hide and was willing to be completely transparent. She then explained that her parents were already aware of the situation, as she had told them right after the incident. She expressed a strong desire to rebuild trust and work on salvaging our marriage. She assured me that she was ready to do whatever was necessary to repair the damage caused by her actions. She made it clear that she would follow my lead in deciding how to move forward. At the same time, she acknowledged the possibility that I might choose to end the relationship and told me she was prepared to accept the consequences of her actions, no matter how painful they might be. For the past 2 days, I have been consumed by an overwhelming sense of numbness. It feels as though every emotion I should be experiencing, anger, sadness, betrayal, has been muted, leaving behind only a hollow, empty state of existence. In this strange emotional void, daily life has become mechanical and devoid of purpose. We barely eat, and our conversations, if they can even be called that, consist of no more than a few brief, obligatory words exchanged in passing. I have chosen to sleep in another room, creating a physical distance that mirrors the emotional chasm between us. I no longer eat the meal she prepares for me. Instead, I have taken to cooking for myself, a small but deliberate act of detachment. This change in routine seems to upset her, intensifying her sadness. She reacts visibly to this, retreating further into herself. Most of her time is spent in our room, a space that now feels more like hers alone. She rarely leaves the confines of that room. When I pass by, I often hear her crying softly, sometimes muttering to herself or whispering in a way that suggests she is talking aloud to no one in particular. At other times, I catch glimpses of her staring at her phone, reading articles or forums, presumably searching for advice, strategies, or some kind of solace that might help her navigate this catastrophe she has created. Meanwhile, I find myself endlessly pondering my options, caught between two vastly different paths, neither of which feels right or fair. The first and most straightforward solution is divorce. It is the cleanest break, the option that seems to promise a chance at starting over without the burden of doubt and distrust. There is a bitter clarity in this choice. A cheater has betrayed the foundation of our marriage, and there is no way to undo what has already been done. Trust, once shattered, is nearly impossible to fully rebuild. Divorce offers a sense of finality, the chance to close this painful chapter and move on, even though the process would be far from painless. The second option is a more complex and emotionally taxing route: reconciliation. This choice feels like walking into a storm, knowing there may or may not be shelter on the other side. There are reasons to consider it. She came clean entirely on her own, without prompting or discovery on my part. She willingly handed over her phone and all her accounts, showing a level of transparency that suggests she is genuinely remorseful. She even told her parents the same story, exposing herself to their judgment and disappointment. Her father reached out to me, asking me to carefully think through my decision, but he was also clear in saying that he would respect and support whatever choice I make. She has expressed her willingness to do whatever it takes to repair the damage and rebuild trust, though I'm not entirely sure what that would even look like or if it's something I can genuinely consider. I have briefly thought about couples counseling, as it seems like the logical step in situations like this. However, the very idea of it feels unjust. Why should I have to participate in fixing something I didn't break? Why should I have to endure the emotional labor of therapy when I was not the one who destroyed the trust and sanctity of our marriage? This betrayal was her choice, her action, her mistake. It feels unfair to ask me to now shoulder the burden of navigating the path forward. And yet, despite all this inner turmoil, I find myself unable to care enough to make a decision. I feel like a bystander in my own life, detached and indifferent. Is it normal to feel this way? To feel nothing at all in the face of such a monumental betrayal? I don't feel anger, nor do I feel sadness. It's as though I am drained of emotion, incapable of connecting with the gravity of the situation. I know I should feel something, anything, but right now I don't. Instead, I am left with an oppressive emptiness that refuses to go away. This was the last thing I needed in my life, but here we are. Let's read some comments on the first post. First comment was, "There's a whole lot of actions that she took before she ended up sleeping with some random stranger in a car, possible hours of flirting, touching, kissing. No way there wasn't a point where she thought, I'm actually married, maybe I shouldn't be out here acting single." And then kept going anyway because what she was doing and feeling in that moment was more important to her than your feelings and your relationship. Yes, she seems remorseful. That's a point to her in this awful situation. Reconciliation is an option, but it is years of hard work. Are you willing to put up with all the tears and heartache and pain that will take on top of the betrayal she's already put you through? Some people are. Some people aren't. Take some time and think about whether you could ever imagine actually and wholeheartedly forgiving her for this or being able to get over this and still consider yourself happy or the relationship healthy. She replied to the first comment. And that is my biggest issue. Second comment was, what did the chats with her friends reveal? Why did they just let her disappear with this dude? Not absolving her of any guilt, but having friends that support your marriage and keep you safe when you're out is a must. They and she obviously don't think very highly of you if they all allowed this to happen. Alcohol isn't an excuse. She replied to the second comment was, they hate me and I hate them. A bunch of people who are over 30 and so far have done nothing in their lives. No family, no good jobs, nothing. Third comment was, I'm not sure if you have put much thought into this previously, but cheating is one of my red lines. For me, it's a non-recoverable situation. I don't personally care about punishing the cheater or getting revenge. It's pointless and wouldn't ultimately change anything. It's about self-respect and dignity and choosing not to have people in my life that would take me for granted and betray my trust. Everyone is different, and you can only make this determination for yourself, but my wife and I are both in agreement on this and know where each other stand. We know the outcome if either one of us steps out. Instant regret and remorse aside, she cast aside her marriage vows for what was likely bad car sex with a rando from a bar. I can't pretend to know why she would do such a thing, but it's gross and I wouldn't want to expend years of my life trying to push it out of my head so I could eventually have a family with her. She replied to the third comment was, it's for me as well, but decade together, 7 married, I don't know what I'm even thinking. I have no clue what is real and what isn't. She posted an update after 1 month. Hello everyone. I wanted to take a moment to provide a more detailed update on my situation and how I've been coping over the past few weeks since my wife and I separated. First, let me say that this hasn't been an easy period for me, and I appreciate anyone who takes the time to read this. I apologize in advance if it ends up being a bit long. To put it bluntly, I'm not doing well. The emotions I have been wrestling with are overwhelming, and I often feel like I'm drowning in a sea of uncertainty. I am deeply depressed and unsure about nearly every aspect of my life right now, including what to do about my marriage and, to be completely honest, what to do with myself. My days blur together in a fog of emotional numbness and despair, and I can't seem to find any clarity or direction. It feels as though I'm stuck in limbo, unable to move forward but also unwilling, or perhaps unable, to fully let go. A few days ago it was my wife's birthday. Despite everything that has happened, I decided to reach out to her. I debated with myself for hours, wondering if it was the right thing to do or if it would only make things more complicated. In the end, I called her and we arranged to meet in person. I wasn't sure what to expect or how I would feel seeing her again, but I knew that ignoring her birthday entirely didn't feel right, regardless of the state of our relationship. When we met, I brought a small cake with me as a gift. It wasn't extravagant, just a simple cake with 1 candle on top. It wasn't about the material value of the gift but rather the sentiment behind it. I wanted to acknowledge her birthday in some way, even if our circumstances are far from normal. When I handed her the cake, she broke down in tears. She cried so hard that it startled me. Through her tears, she told me that she had genuinely believed I had forgotten about her birthday. She thought I wouldn't acknowledge it at all, that I didn't care anymore, and that I hated her. Seeing her react that way stirred something inside me. For a fleeting moment, I felt a warmth I hadn't experienced in weeks. It wasn't just the act of giving her the gift but the look on her face, the raw emotion in her reaction. It reminded me of better times, times when we were happy together and things were simpler. For a brief moment, I felt something close to happiness, a flicker of light in an otherwise dark and heavy reality. But that feeling didn't last. Almost as quickly as it appeared, it was overshadowed by the memories of her betrayal. The weight of what happened between us came rushing back, and the warmth I felt was replaced by the cold, harsh truth of our situation. I couldn't forget or ignore what had brought us to this point, no matter how much I wanted to hold on to that fleeting sense of joy. Now, I find myself even more conflicted than before. That brief interaction brought up a whirlwind of emotions I wasn't prepared to face. On one hand, it reminded me of what we once had and made me wonder if there's still something worth salvaging. On the other hand, it also reminded me of the pain and betrayal that have fractured our relationship so deeply. I don't know what to make of it all, and I don't know what to do moving forward. I'm trying to take it one day at a time, but even that feels like a monumental task some days. We talked deeply about our relationship, our emotions, and the state of our lives. It was a conversation that turned out to be far more emotional and profound than I had anticipated. She spoke more than I did, taking the opportunity to express the depth of her remorse and the immense guilt she feels about the pain she has caused me. She openly acknowledged that there is no way to undo her actions or erase the hurt she inflicted, but she emphasized her determination to become a better person and to make meaningful changes in her life. As she spoke, I could sense the weight of her emotions, the mixture of regret, sadness, and hopefulness in her words. She detailed the steps she has been taking to work on herself and improve as an individual. One thing she mentioned was that she has started keeping a journal, which is something entirely new for her. She described how she's been using it as a way to process her emotions and reflect on her actions. Additionally, she's been reading extensively on topics related to reconciliation, personal growth, and relationships. She's watching various videos and tutorials that provide insights into rebuilding trust and addressing the fallout of infidelity. She also shared that she has begun attending therapy sessions to better understand herself, her decisions, and how to move forward constructively. It's clear that she is making a genuine effort to confront her issues and learn from this experience. She even told me she quit her job, partly because she felt the need for a fresh start and partly because the work environment wasn't helping her mental state. While she hasn't had much luck finding a new job yet, she seems determined to keep trying. On top of all that, she has taken up painting as a new hobby, which, in her words, serves as both a creative outlet and a form of self-expression. I have to admit, I think that's pretty cool. It's encouraging to see her channeling her energy into something positive and productive. Despite all these efforts, there is still a lingering tension between us, especially when the topic of her cheating arises. Whenever it comes up, I notice how she immediately becomes guarded. She struggles to meet my gaze, her eyes darting away as though looking at me is too painful or too shameful for her to bear. Her voice falters and she seems visibly uncomfortable, almost scared. It's difficult for me to interpret her reaction. Is she ashamed of what happened? It's possible. Is she horrified by the choices she made and the consequences they've brought upon us? I don't know for certain. Her fear and discomfort in these moments could be a sign of deep remorse, but they could also indicate that she's still grappling with the enormity of her actions and their impact on our relationship. At one point during our conversation, I told her that I was happy to see her focusing on self-improvement. I made it clear that whether these efforts are for the sake of our relationship or for someone else in the future, I believe it's important for her to grow and become a better version of herself. When I said that, she broke down in tears again. It was as though hearing those words from me unlocked something inside her, perhaps a sense of relief, or maybe a deeper realization of what she's fighting to hold on to. As much as I appreciate the steps she's taking, I find myself in a complicated emotional space. On one hand, I can see that she's trying. Her actions seem sincere, and the changes in her behavior feel genuine. On the other hand, the hurt and betrayal are still there, lingering in the background of every interaction we have. It's hard to reconcile the person she is trying to become with the person who caused me so much pain. Even with her visible efforts and my recognition of them, I can't ignore the internal struggle I face when I think about what happened. It's a constant push and pull between hope and hurt, between what was and what could be. I've never been particularly adept in social situations, and I've always struggled to read people well. Subtle cues, emotions, and unspoken words often escape me, leaving me unsure about the true intentions or feelings of those around me. However, based on what I've observed over the past weeks, it seems as though the gravity of her actions is beginning to weigh heavily on her. The realization of the damage she has caused appears to be sinking in, and I suspect this emotional burden will only grow heavier with time. In the midst of everything, I received some updates about her circle of friends and her affair partner, which add another layer of complexity to this already difficult situation. She has completely cut off contact with the friends who were present on the night of the affair. From what I've been told, this wasn't a quiet or mutual parting of ways, it was a major and extremely ugly fight. The fallout seems to have been bitter and final. She has gone so far as to remove them from her life entirely, blocking them on social media and cutting all ties. It seems as though she's trying to distance herself from anything or anyone connected to that night, perhaps as a way of disassociating from her actions or to focus on starting over. As for her affair partner, I learned that he bailed almost immediately after finding out that we are separated and that our marriage is in turmoil. It seems he may have assumed she would leave me and begin a relationship with him, but as soon as he realized the reality of the situation, that it was more than a casual fling and that actual consequences were unfolding, he ran. He wanted no part in the fallout and apparently had no interest in stepping into the role of being with her in a committed capacity. Essentially, he used her for what he wanted in the moment and then discarded her when things got messy. On top of betraying me, she ended up being betrayed herself, used and then tossed aside like she was nothing more than a temporary distraction. I can't say for certain how she feels about being treated that way by him. She hasn't openly expressed her emotions on that specific aspect of the situation, and I haven't asked her directly. To be honest, I'm not sure if I even want to know. Still, from an outside perspective, I think it's terrible. Regardless of how much pain she's caused me, it's hard to ignore the cruelty of someone exploiting her vulnerability only to abandon her when she needed clarity or support the most. It doesn't justify her actions, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it adds a layer of complexity to the way I perceive the entire situation. As for her true intentions with her affair partner, I don't think I'll ever know the full story. No matter what she says about it now, I doubt I'll ever receive a completely straight or honest answer. Did she think he was just a fleeting indulgence, someone to give her attention for a night? Or was there a part of her that genuinely considered him as an alternative to our marriage, however briefly? These are questions that might never have definitive answers, and even if she tries to explain, I'm not sure I would, or could, fully believe her. There's a shadow over this part of the story that will likely remain forever unclear, a murky gap in understanding that I'll have to learn to live with, regardless of how things unfold from here. All of this leaves me in a strange emotional space. While I can see the consequences of her actions beginning to unfold in her life, and while I can observe her efforts to make amends and grow as a person, the lingering distrust and unresolved questions remain an ever-present barrier. For now, I'm continuing to take things one step at a time, uncertain of what lies ahead but trying to remain steady in the moment. If he hadn't bailed, would she have chased him? Would she still be trying to reconcile if he had stayed? Would they be together now instead of her sitting across from me, pouring her heart out and asking for another chance? These are the kinds of questions that keep running through my mind, looping endlessly without answers. Was her cheating a spur-of-the-moment decision driven by lust or some fleeting thrill? Was it an act born out of a fear of missing out, some desperate attempt to recapture a feeling of youth or excitement? Or was there pressure involved, a need to please or conform in a way I don't fully understand? I genuinely don't know, and no matter how much I analyze or how many conversations we have, I may never know. The truth behind her actions feels like a puzzle with missing pieces, leaving me stuck in uncertainty. During our latest conversation, she asked me directly if I am willing to try again, to rebuild what we once had. Her voice was steady, but there was a clear vulnerability in her tone, a quiet fear of rejection. She assured me that no matter what I decide, she will honor, respect, and understand my choice. I told her the truth, that I simply don't know yet. And I don't. My feelings are a tangled mess, and every day feels like a battle between my desire for clarity and the crushing weight of my emotions. I admitted to her and to myself that I need therapy. For weeks, I tried to convince myself that I could handle this on my own, that I was strong enough, iron-willed enough, to navigate this storm without help. But it's clear now that I was wrong. I feel like I'm sinking deeper into despair with every passing day, struggling to keep my head above water. The numbness I once felt has been replaced by an overwhelming mix of sadness, anger, confusion, and exhaustion. I'm not okay, and I need to confront that truth if I'm ever going to find a way forward. I could have lashed out at her during our talk. I could have let my anger take over, told her to go to hell, dismissed all her efforts to improve as meaningless, or accused her of acting too late. But I didn't. Instead, I chose honesty. I told her that I don't know what the future holds for us. I told her that I want us to stay separated for now, that I need time and space to process everything and figure out what I want. I didn't make any promises or offer any reassurances, and I made it clear that our future is uncertain. Her work on herself, while commendable, doesn't guarantee that I will take her back or that our marriage can be saved. She said she understands. She told me she's willing to continue putting in the effort, even knowing there's a chance it might not lead to reconciliation. For her, it seems, this journey is as much about becoming a better person for herself as it is about proving to me that she can change. She said she's ready to invest time, energy, and resources into this process, even if the ultimate outcome is not what she hopes for. That level of commitment is admirable, I suppose, but it doesn't make my decision any easier. For now, I remain in limbo. I'm trying to take it one day at a time, focusing on small steps rather than the daunting enormity of what lies ahead. Whether our story ends here or continues on a different path is still unclear. All I can do is search for the clarity I so desperately need, both for myself and for whatever the future may hold. I told her that she doesn't have to prove anything to me, she betrayed herself first and foremost. I think this affected her really badly because I could see a change on her face like something died inside. I told her to stay safe and left. When I came home, I realized that this was the first proper heart-to-heart we had in a really long time. It's so sad that the circumstances of our heart-to-heart are so terrible, sad, and even horrifying. If only it had been due to something positive and loving. I will probably write one more update in a few weeks or months, depending on how long it takes me to figure out what I want to do. Let's read some comments. First comment was, "So sorry for you. I wish the best for you. If you move forward with staying with your wife, you have give her total trust, otherwise I think the lack of trust will eat you up every time she is away from you. If you divorce, no one will blame you. Time to put effort into yourself. Can I suggest gym, catch up with friends, movies, read, cycle, see a show, go to church, study? Basically get busy and distract yourself while improving your mental health." She replied to the first comment was, "I'm already going to the gym. Friends are not really good. Most of them are split on divorce and second chance. I'm trying to distract myself, but it's tough." Second comment was, "If he hadn't bailed, would she have chased him? Would she still be trying to reconcile if he hadn't bailed? Would they be together? Was her cheating a rash decision made out of lust, fear of missing out, or maybe pressure? I don't have answers to those questions. It's hard to say what the answer is. Has she given you copies of their texts or how they communicated? I would demand that before I considered reconciliation. Even if she says she deleted it out of shame, deleted texts can be recovered. If she was willing to cheat, she was at that moment willing to give you up for him. I did it once, I will never allow myself to be anyone's second choice again. If she can't tell you why she cheated, she will eventually 100% do it again. She can figure out why through therapy. Oh, a good true partner can't be pressured into cheating. A lot has to happen to get to that point. You have to entertain the conversation, you have to agree to leave together, you have to meet somewhere, then make a decision to remove your clothes. It takes a bit of thought to follow through with all of that. She completely cut them out of her life, removed them from everything, blocked, unfollowed after a major, really ugly fight. Given the seriousness of the situation, I wonder why this caused an ugly fight? If her friends understand that she just destroyed her marriage. Makes me think there is more to it than you are being told. Also, don't let her or anyone tell you it was a mistake. A mistake is a spur-of-the-moment lapse in judgment, something that could happen to anyone. That's not what cheating is. Calling it a mistake is rug sweeping and hiding the real problem. "I'm sorry for you, good luck." She replied to the second comment was, "He contacted her after he had his fun to see if he could get more, to see what will happen between them. She told him that she told me and then he never contacted her again. As for friends, I explained that in the comments of my first post, but they hated me and I hated them. I guess she finally saw them for what they are." Thank you for listening the story to the end. If you enjoy our videos, so don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a good day, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it and hit the notification bell icon to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.